So, as many of you, the first 5 to 10 years in business, I was touching everything. That means I was doing everything. I was micromanaging. I was just into everything. I had to make sure it was my way, done right. And I was just touching too many things. And I learned from great advisors only to touch what I do best and leave the rest to others. That's also called delegating. I learned fast that if I was doing everything, I was doing nothing well. So this is titled Selective Neglect, Outsmarting Overwhelm in the Home Services. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Hey, welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to the next level, whatever that level might be, and ultimately follow your dreams. Today, we're going to be talking about selective neglect, outsmarting overwhelm in the home service business. Okay? So if I define selective neglect, the intentional practice of ignoring lesser priorities to focus on what truly drives growth and results. So why do entrepreneurs struggle with focus? Why do we tend to think naturally that we have to do it all in order to have it done right? In the home service, as home service business owners, and key managers, we often wear many hats. I mean, I have wore every hat. I was going to do something years ago. I was going to buy multiple hats and put on there, owner, president, installer, service tech, salesperson, phone answerer, just many things. Chief bottle washer, right? So the danger of trying to please everyone and be everywhere is dangerous because it's impossible and it will lead to burnout. We just can't do it. If you're a younger company, if you're basically under 10 years old and you as a company and you haven't grasped this yet, this is going to be good for you. If you're an older company and you just need a refresher course on this because you're touching too much. Because if you're not careful, you can cut back on what you touch. And when I say touch, I mean you're involved in, okay? So you can cut back on what you're involved in, what you're touching too much, but eventually you start touching other things you shouldn't be touching, and pretty soon you're right back to square one. So it's dangerous. Get this. Busyness does not equate to effectiveness. How confusing the two can stall growth. Bees are busy and live a very short life. They're 100 mile an hour from flower to flower, back to the hive, all that they do. They're busy, busy, busy. That's where the saying came from, busy as a bee. But ants are effective. You see, there's a big difference between busy and effectiveness. Ants live longer. And know this, ants rely on each other. So we have to rely on our team. We have to. And we're going to talk more about that. So know this. I have talked about, I often, when I do a consultation on the phone or Zoom with someone who wants to hire me as a business coach, I often ask them, one of the questions, many questions, is, how many hours a week do you work? Because generally, that tells me how involved and how serious they take their business. So if they say 30 and they're only doing $220,000 a year, I'm going to question how serious they're taking this and how involved they're into it. And if they say 80 and they're only doing 220,000 a year, that's telling me they're very busy. They're into it, but they're not effective either. So the myth, I want you to know this, the myth that more hours equals more success is a myth. It doesn't mean they're successful just because they work more. When in reality, smart focus wins. When they're focusing and they get this down, efficiency matters more than hours. And discipline, it helps with discipline. You've got to have discipline, delegation, and then don't touch no more. So that's what's required. Discipline, delegation, and then don't touch no more. Get your hands off of it. Get out of there. Get your head out of it. Let other people manage it. Now, you're going to hold them accountable for a while to make sure they're managing it. Don't get me wrong. You're not just going to drop a very important part of your business and let someone else run that without making sure they're doing it right first. Now, that happens a lot too. I gave this to them and they dropped the ball. Well, you didn't train them properly. You didn't let them know how you wanted it done. You didn't set expectations, okay? So if you're going to delegate, make sure you set expectations. Make sure the people are very comfortable doing it. Follow up a little bit. Make sure they're doing it right over a week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 weeks time. And then you can touch base maybe once a month. Make sure. So, but at least you're not touching it anymore. So remember, discipline, delegation, and don't touch no more. Okay. All right. Then I want to talk about what selective neglect looks like in action. So when we focus on high value tasks like sales and marketing and hiring the right people and building a reputation, we must let go of distractions, because in order to be really good, which I talk about a lot, being the best and being number one, what does that mean? For us, it just means we're number one, top of mind in our market, in our territory. No matter what survey we've done, third-party surveys, extensive surveys. When you think of heating and air conditioning, who do you think of? McAfee always floats to the top. So, and we've been number one for years, but we focus on high-value tasks, sales, marketing, hiring the right people, getting the right people on the right bus, which is our bus, but there's a couple buses, and then getting them in the right seat on the bus. Good to great. If you've not read it, I challenge you to read it. And then building a strong reputation. We got to let go of distractions. Saying no to micromanaging everything. I mean, every service call, we were a smaller office at one time, especially starting out of a garage. Our office was 12 by 24, actually. But then we built a building and we took 3,500 square feet, and I think about 2,000 of it was office space. But I could hear everything, and I would correct people, when they get off the phone. Don't say that anymore. Say it this way. Don't say it anymore. Say it this way. Some people could handle it, some couldn't. You know what I mean? Because I was micromanaging, but I wanted things done a certain way, and I didn't know how else to do it. So you got to say no to micromanaging everything. And then as a business owner, just because you make a little money sometimes, avoid shiny object syndrome. Like, we can get into the Lambo thing and all that stuff, but actually, let's start small. New apps. Avoid new apps. Avoid unnecessary techie stuff. Unproven tactics. Don't buy into everything that comes down the pike. If you're doing all that stuff anyway, you're spending too much time. You're wasting time. If you're going to stop touching certain things and delegate, that frees you up more time to do those key things, such as growing a business and scaling it, and sales and marketing and hiring the right people. I have stopped doing a lot of things in my business. I have stopped doing a lot of things, and I allow my leadership team to do those things I used to do. but I've also I focus today on what I do best and what needs to be done, and actually some of the things just what I love and I do best. So, of course, I set the vision for the company. That's what I do. Of course, I oversee and work with my leadership team. But I also love sales. I mean, this is what I've been about my whole life. And our sales closing ratio is somewhere really close to 85%. And so I meet with the sales team regularly, and I coach them, and we discuss new ideas and challenges we have and all those types of things. I love sales. Sales is without a sale, nothing happens. These companies that are happy with 55% or 60%, that's 4 out of 10 getting away. And that's not good enough. And it's hard enough to lose 1.5 out of 10. So it's important. Without a sale, nothing happens. So I'm involved in my sales team. I'm involved in the marketing and the branding and the advertising. I get into that. I've been doing it for years, and I've learned a lot about it. And I love the branding idea. A brand is so strong. When a brand is strong and your marketing is strong and your advertising is strong, you're the leader. You're leading in your territory. And that's powerful. So I do those things. I used to say I dabble in them, but I don't dabble. Dabble is not where you're like into it. I'm into it, and I enjoy it. And I'm, sharing with others, delegating with others how to do this, but I love doing that. I love it. Okay. So, and then there's not wasting energy on low value customers or tire kickers. You gotta know the difference. We serve thousands of people in the home industry. You don't have just 5 big customers. You've got thousands. It depends on how new your company is or how old your company is, but we serve thousands of people, and we're just not going to waste our time on tire kickers and somebody that wants something for the lowest price. That's not who we are. They need to go find that. But that's not us. And we're not going to waste time on trying to sell to them. And we're not going to waste time on trying to serve them to where after every call, they're calling and complaining about something. So wasted energy. And think about this. Instead of you attending every minor meeting that's in the company, every little group that every little powwow, every group, every little meeting, focus on building strategic partnerships or new revenue streams. That also goes for outside. I think this is what I meant more by this. Outside meetings. You could get invited to every meeting in the world. You got to learn to say no, first of all. But you got to focus on building strategic partnerships or new revenue streams. Build leadership teams internally and let them deal with more of the day-to-day. And that's what I'm talking about. I don't have much to do at all today, if any, with my day-to-day. I've got a VP of operations, and she runs the day-to-day, and we've got field managers and service managers and install managers and supervisors and they're in the technical trainers and all that kind of stuff. They're doing the day-to-day stuff. I'm out further than that, or I'm up here looking at the big picture going, this is what we need to do, or this is what we want to do, or this is what we want to try. But don't get pulled into every meeting out there outside your company. It's very distracting, and you don't need to be in them. Pick wisely. And then you got a mindset shift that makes it possible. Stop chasing perfection if you're a perfection chaser. Let good people own their own lanes within your company. It comes down to trust. You've got to trust people to do what you used to do or what you think you did so well. I thought I was the best salesman in the world. Like I told you, I love sales. And I thought I was it, man. I mean, I'm the owner of the company. When the owner of the company goes in the house to sell, no, I wasn't closing as much as we are today. I've learned so much since then. This has been 15 years ago or more. That, we've been in business 35 years, going on 36. And I kept the sales hat on way, way, way too long because I didn't trust anyone to sell. When I finally learned how to hire a good salesperson, they blew me away first year. Matter of fact, I gave them my truck. I had a really nice Denali truck. And I said, if you beat this record, if you beat this number, that truck's yours to drive for the company. And they did. So I had to trust people. And it came down to, like me or we as owners, we should be employed from the neck up. Quit touching things. We must trust others and quit touching things, basically. When I say touching things, we're just too involved. We're too involved. You might walk by an office and you hear something and you stop and now you're involved in it. I always say, just keep walking. Keep walking. If they want you involved in it, they'll get to you. If it gets to the level where you're needed, they'll call you. Okay? So also let go of guilt. You can't be everywhere for everyone, and your business will thank you for focusing on where you add the most value. That's the thing. Sometimes I come in here and, we go to Florida often now, but sometimes I come in here and I call it my Southwest Florida office. But sometimes I come in here and I don't work on anything that has to do with McAfee. I'm writing articles. I'm writing stuff for the podcast. I am doing stuff for my word of the day. I am reading. I'm doing stuff for me, to build me, to grow me. I can't be an influential and a strong leader without growing me and filling me with good things that I need to know and I need to have and I need to learn. Constantly learning. So I know I can't be everywhere, and my business has thanked me for not being everywhere. And I've invested in delegation. I build leaders, not followers. I've been trying to do this, more in the last 5 to 7 years than any time in my business, is building leaders, not followers. I don't put someone in a management position to be told what to do all the time. I'm depending on them to know what to do. And then we've got, this is some tough truth right here, and I want you folks to write this down. Sometimes neglecting small fires lets your business rise to a new level. So small fires are all these little things that, I don't even want to think about counting them. All these little things that happen in a day that you should not be involved in. You should not be touching. So write this down. Sometimes neglecting small fires lets your business rise to the next level. Okay, also, years ago, I decided, and I knew this, we know this, but we don't do it. But I decided I run a for-profit business and that we are not an adult daycare. See, if you don't have leadership skills, which leads to management skills, because you have to have management skills to be a leader, you're basically a poor leader. I've been a poor leader before. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was a poor leader. But when I stopped being an adult babysitter, every detail and focus used to be on babysitting. Basically, my business hit a new level. When I quit doing that, and I hired more responsible people, and I taught them to lead the McAfee way. They already had a natural leadership ability. Our business just grew. And when you don't practice stuff like this, you're going to get burnout. it leads to stagnation and closed doors. Okay, basically. All right. So as we wrap this up, I want us to know that God didn't call us to do it all. He called us to be faithful in what matters most. And that reminds me of a story in my book. It was out of the book of Exodus, and it basically talks about Jethro, and it talks about Moses. It basically says the next day Moses took his seat to serve as judge for the people, and they stood around him from morning till evening. I'm going to give you the short version of this. So Moses was the judge. Jethro was his father-in-law. Jethro came to visit. So he came to work with Moses one day and watched all these people line up, and they would ask Moses how to determine the outcome of a problem. Moses was the judge. He would give them his wisdom, and they would go their way. Well, people would line up forever. So he was there early morning, clear till dark, every day, trying to solve these problems. And they got home, and Moses probably said something like, "What'd you think of that day?" And he said, "Well, can I give you some advice?" And Moses says, "Sure." And he said, "Well, you've got capable men around you, correct?" And Moses said, "I do." And he said, "Well, how about you consider delegating a little bit and giving some of your capable men some of these cases that you don't want to handle. In other words, give this guy this kind of case, and this guy this kind of case, and so on, and you only take the most difficult cases." And basically, Moses put that into action, and when he did, his day went from early morning to dark till early morning till 3 p.m. He was done. And it gave his men responsibility. It gave, he delegated. It worked out extremely well. He only had the tough cases. And that's kind of how business works. Give other people these things to do. You focus on what you do best, the hard cases, the things that need to get you to you only, and that's what you need to do. And that's why I use that in that book. When we were talking about leadership, that Jethro was extremely wise. And kudos to Moses for listening to his father-in-law. That's for sure. All right. So this week, I want to challenge you. Just write down 3 things you need to stop touching, and then 3 things you need to double down on, what you should be doing only. And some of these things you're going to need to double down on, you're not doing now. That's the thing. And so write down 3 things you need to stop touching and 3 things you need to double down on. And I'll leave you with this. Success is not about doing more. It's about doing more of the stuff that matters most. Okay? All right. Before we wrap up, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. Please hit that like button. That really helps me with the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. If you can support this podcast by rating and reviewing on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no underscores. And be sure to tune in next week. I'll do my best to keep challenging you. Thanks for listening. As always, carry on. God bless. Make this day the best day of your life, because we're not promised tomorrow. I'll see you later.